Hi, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be talking about how do you deal with losing loved ones. For me, I lost both my parents from 2009 to 2016. I actually ended up losing 11 family members, and that was grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and ultimately my mom and my dad. Now, I feel like when I lost my mom, I had lost her in 2009 to cirrhosis of the liver. She was 43 years old at the time. And for a couple years before she passed away, she was on medication. She was always hurting. She was not feeling good. So when it got to a point where my mom was getting ready to pass, I think something in me was emotionally ready. I think that I had come to the grips that something was going to happen to my mom. It was crazy because what actually wound up happening with her was me and my buddy were getting ready to go get some calzones. Mom said that she had made some hot wings. And so whenever we were getting ready to head out, she was like, "Hey, baby, I made y'all some hot wings and I rented y'all some movies." And I said, "Okay, all right." I said, "Well, we're going to go get some calzones and we'll be right back." So we and my buddy, and his name is Michael as well too, we went to get some calzones and we left the place and came back. We decided to get our calzones to go. And when we came back, I got upstairs, went to go open up my container, and that's when my stepdad started yelling. My mom was on the floor, gone. And I screamed to my buddy, Mike. He came upstairs and he tried to do CPR on my mom. And nothing really happened. So she got transferred to the hospital. When we got to the hospital, it was an empty room. For some reason, that was such a really big impact on my life at that moment that I don't think I really dealt with it. I was concerned how my dad was going to take it. My mom and dad were separated at the time, so I had to drive over to where my dad was staying at and literally kick in his door, and I yelled his name, and he knew. The moment I yelled his name, he knew. That was a very hard time for me. So I think I wanted to stay strong for my little brother. So I kind of put my feelings to the side, and my little brother at the time was 10 years old. And I wanted to protect him. I wanted to him not to have to worry about anything. So at that time, I stayed strong. And my son was, I want to say around 3 or 4, very, very young. And so I did. And then after that, my dad wound up moving into where my mom was at and took over having my little brother, taking care of my little brother. So they created an amazing bond between the two of them. And then fast forward 6 years, and we were, our 7 years actually, we were at, I was at the airport. I was working at the airport at the time. And I got a phone call from my dad, and we're sitting there laughing and cutting it up and everything like that about he had filed bankruptcy, and he, it was just a lot of stress off of his back because paying bills all the time and not being able to live life was really taking a toll out on him, and so he was very excited that he was able to do something like that. And I was actually proud of him. I was like, whatever gets the stress off of you. I was dealing with my own things at the time. So I was emotionally going through some things at the time. Anyhow, so that night, my little brother calls about 3 o'clock in the morning, and, he tells me Dad's not breathing. So I get in my car and I run over there as fast as I can. And I get over there and Dad's on the floor, massive heart attack. And I didn't know that we have high blood pressure. Anyhow, Dad was on the floor, and I was out there for about 5 minutes or so before his alarm clock went off. And it's funny because I still hear that alarm clock to this day. That was something that, when that happened, that was just another blow. And this was like a week before Christmas. This was December 16th, 2016. And I remember again, trying to be strong for my brother at this time. And so I call the family. I get the family to come from, out of state and stuff like that, and let them know that Dad passed away. And it was a very, very hard time of my life. I actually wound up going into alcohol after that. And I felt like I needed to numb myself because it was just too much. I don't feel like I really dealt with losing my mom. I kind of suppressed those feelings. But then when I lost my dad and I had absolutely nobody, as far as parents, it was probably, or no, I'd have to say it's actually the worst time of my life. And so the drinking was every single day. I was trying to pass out. I was trying to numb every single thing. And what I've come to realize is, and this is one of the reasons why I want to create this video, was I wasn't doing anything but sustaining the pain that was to come. I was putting off my emotions because, the alcohol helped for a little while, but then it became more of a anxiety, stress, and then blood pressure problems, anxiety problems. A lot of things came from the alcohol. And ultimately I realized in my sobriety now that I was only masking that pain, and eventually I'd have to face it. And you can only put it off for so long. And that's what I did. I put it off for about as long as I could. After about 4 years, I wanted to live. Whenever I finally got to the hospital and realized my blood pressure was up there, I think it was like 216 over 160 something. And I realized that I wanted to live. And of course, keep in mind, I had a son as well too. So what example was I setting for him? The fact that I lost my parents and I was denying him a living father because I was so emotionally destroyed that I wasn't able to be my best self for him. And I didn't want him to see it. So I stepped out of the picture because I didn't want him seeing his dad like that. And ultimately that caused even more issues later on down the road, and these are things that I guess, trial and error, you don't really know what you don't know. And then you don't really have the right guidance to kind of get you through these things. So you are human and you make mistakes. And that was something that I had to learn. Whenever I got my sobriety, I was hit with emotions of pent up 4 years of all kinds of things that just leveled me, floored me. Like, man, when I tell you that it was extremely hard navigating through those emotions sober and trying to become a better version of yourself, and you ultimately feel destroyed. It was not easy for me. I had a lot of help in AA meetings. I had a lot of help with finding the right people. I wound up having to move out of state. I wound up having to relocate because I wanted to be in an environment that didn't remind me of where I was and who I was. I had to get into a place where I wasn't around the same people. I had to get into a place where I wasn't tempted or wanted to revert back to my addiction. So I had to make some tough decisions. And I believe that almost everything comes with a sacrifice. And I sacrificed a lot by leaving to better myself because I want to be a better version of myself for everybody included. And I say all that to say that it's not easy losing a loved one. It's not easy losing a parent. If I could go back, I think the best way for me to have honored my parents would have been for me to better myself, would have been for me to be better for everybody that was around me. And although I had my weakness, and although I went down the path that I went down, I guess my advice would be, it's always going to hurt. You're never really going to get over it. For me, I think dealing with it and just coming to grips that it happened, and trying to be the best version of myself to honor my parents is ultimately the decision that I've come to understand. And it gives me the opportunity to be able to help out other people, to inspire other people, to let other people know you're not alone, and to give people that hope and inspiration that although you may be going through a difficult time, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There will come a day where you will have made it through that, and you will have the opportunity to help somebody else out based off of what you went through. And I think for me, having the opportunity to be able to help save another person or be that positive influence in another person's ear, being a person that I didn't have, the person I needed to have in my life, being that person for somebody else is an amazing gift. And I'm so thankful for that. With that being said, I hope that this video helped. And if so, please leave a comment in the comment section. With that being said, I hope you guys have a beautiful and blessed day. Bye.